What's going on, everybody? Welcome to 100% Real with Alex. Today we have a very special guest, David, the closer.
Thank you.
We're actually here in one of his investment properties. We just went over the history of the property. We went over some of what he's planning on doing with it. So we're going to dive deep into his story, where he's coming from, and also a little bit behind the scenes of what is he currently doing to actually buy these investment properties? How does he run the numbers? All that good stuff. So thank you very much for being on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex, for the invitation. Followed you for a very long time, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. I'm sitting here on your floor.
There you go.
So this is the second unit, right?
This is actually the second unit for the building.
Yeah. So
yes.
This is the second unit.
Yes. This is the second floor where we have the highest ceilings of the whole house, actually.
So sick. So this is how many jobs have you done in regards to like investments?
This is actually my third property, which is why I thought maybe you were talking about that before. This is my third property, so each property has two units, and this one is going to have 3 units. So it's going to be a total of 7 units, 3 properties that I will be owning.
So you have 7 cash flowing units.
Yes.
That's sick, man.
Yes.
That's awesome.
7.
And how old are you?
I'm 34 years old. I just
34?
turned 34.
Wow. So
I want to say 33 though, but I'm 34.
So when did you start getting into investing?
I started getting into investing in real estate just 2 years ago, to be honest. So this is my third property in just 2 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So when did you know was like, all right, I got a bunch, because you're also a realtor, right?
Yes.
So when did you were like, okay, this is the right time to get into investing? How long did it really take? What was like the process of that?
Well, when I started real estate about almost 7 years ago, I started doing a lot of rentals. It was actually very hard for me because when I started real estate, I was broke. I had no money,
I feel like that's everybody's story.
That's everybody's story, right? We all got to start somewhere. My mother has actually been in the business for about 20 years.
Oh, so you're a second generation broker.
Yes.
That's awesome. I've actually interviewed Vincent Koo, who's also second generation.
Nice.
As well. And you guys just have it in your blood. You guys already know.
Listen, my mom kind of like really pushed me to get my real estate license. I was working in sales for another company before I started real estate. And after the Sandy hurricane came, the company went broke and they went bankrupt. So I was left with no job. And that was actually what did it for me. When I lost everything. I actually went bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
About 7 years ago. I went bankrupt. I lost my car. My father was helping me to pay my bills. And I kind of like something just told me like, all right, it's time to listen to my mother. Maybe I'm at the right age where I'm not too stubborn. And I decided to take out my license. I failed the test about 4 times, I'll be honest.
Oh, wow.
4 times.
To be honest with you, I failed it twice. So
it's a hard test.
Yeah. I mean, especially when they started talking about mortgages and you actually don't know any of that process.
Yes.
And they're hitting you with that. That's why I make all my agents like really focus on the mortgage part. I feel like it's
a lot of information. But I finally passed it, and I did rentals for the first 2 years. And, I started seeing, being in real estate, how well people who sold houses actually did. And it was kind of like a dream for me, to be able to help people. Because one of my dreams had always been to buy my own house. And I guess getting into real estate helped me accomplish that goal of mine even faster,
So you said that you went through bankruptcy and that whole process.
Yes.
So what did you feel like being that you had your back against the wall that actually made you a better realtor, or what do you feel like?
I feel like, like everybody else, being broke, no money, kind of like you hungry, so you got to out hustle everybody else, you got to go out there and hustle,
So what did that actually look like? So what were you cold calling? Like what were you doing?
When I was actually started doing rentals, I didn't have a car because my car got repossessed. So my mother knew somebody, this older guy that had like a Crown Victorian. It was like a 1940s Crown Victorian.
Wow.
He sold it for me for $700, and that's what I used to kind of like drive around and show apartments,
Oh, wow.
and just, start making money to save because my goal at that moment was I got to save because I had a very good job when I was working before I got laid off and I went broke. And one of the things that I didn't do when I was young is save. So, you got to save money and be smart with your money. And I feel like I learned from my mistakes, and that's what I'm doing now. Coming from a hard past, coming from getting it myself and starting from zero and learning everything myself, kind of like now I'm using that as an example and as a lesson to not make the same mistake again. And that's why I'm kind of like whatever money I could make, I'm kind of like just investing it and preparing for my future, you know.
Gotcha. And those ideas, did you get any of them from a particular book? Is there any like thing that
Uh,
you read? 'Cause I feel like there's always usually a commonality in like.
Honestly, the I feel like the book that changed my life. I don't know if you ever heard of it, The Secret.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I used to be the secret.
Yes.
Like in all of college, I was the secret.
Awesome.
Just so you guys know, like I read that book like maybe like 3 times.
Yes.
And optimism, like I wanted to be optimist prime. Like I wanted to be optimism all the time. I would not hear anything negative. Like I was like that actually like that was some of the happiest times of my life, I would say.
That book changed my life, Alex, honestly, to be honest with you. And anybody who has read it actually can agree with me, but I do believe in the law of attraction. And I guess I believe, you know, that anything you say your mind to, you actually can accomplish, because all of this, guys, I'm telling you, everything that's happening in my life, all these investments, all these properties that I'm buying.
Your happy family.
My family, I just had a daughter, you know, this is something that it was in my head first, you know, kind of like I visualized it. And you talk to the universe, you're positive, you do everything with a positive attitude, you care for others, you're kind, you're loving, you're not selfish, you know, you're not jealous of other people, you know. And I feel like by living my life with this attitude, along with, you know, being optimistic and being positive, just keeps on bringing blessings into my life, you know.
That's awesome, man. And I actually want to dive a little deeper into that. So in regards to like the negative things that are happening, how would you say that you kind of work through that, right? To stay optimistic, to stay positive, to keep pushing forward, even if things don't necessarily go your way, even though it's setting you up for that positive.
Right.
How do you kind of see to that end?
Again, you know, being optimistic is just really what it is. That's what life is about. Like, if something negative is happening to you or happening, you know, in your family or what in business, whatever it is, you know, you got to think about it like everything happens for a reason. Maybe that is what's meant to happen, because that's probably going to put you in a different position later on, where you're going to sit and say, oh, wow, I'm glad that happened to me, because this is where I am now. So going again, being optimistic, meaning that you actually, something bad happens to you, then you kind of like got to think about it positively, you know, like maybe
how can you flip it, find a silver lining?
Exactly, kind of like, you know, you have to like look the positive into even the negative things that happen to you in your life, you know. You kind of have to do that, you know. And I feel like that's how I overcame all the negative, you know, always being positive, always you know, thinking of ways to figure things out, you know. Because sometimes, like for example with this construction, you know, the pandemic happened. It's like, shit, I wasn't expecting for this to happen. Excuse my French.
No, you can first all you want.
You know, it's like shit, you know, the mortgage is not going to stop. You know, what do I do? And it's like, you have to figure it out. So being put in these situations or in these negative situations is kind of like, it's going to teach you, you know. It's like, I feel like in New York, that's what happens here. New York just puts that in you, you know, like that drive.
Yeah, I mean, the hustle is definitely here. I feel like anybody that's from New York can definitely talk about that drive. But one thing that I feel like I've noticed about myself too is like observing the universe and allowing yourself to see it. Because sometimes you get so wrapped up in a negative thought that you're like, you can't see what's right in front of you.
Exactly.
So like I had a string of bad deals once, right? Okay. And instead of saying like, why does this bad deal, or why am I still attracting the same
what does it keep happening,
client, right? Instead of actually saying like, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing right now to actually attract these negatives? Right. Am I acting in desperation?
Okay.
Am I not coming from an abundant mindset? All these different things. And I feel like by keeping that gratitude on, by keeping that optimism on, you can operate on such a high level. Like Amanda always has that good vibration going on.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, that's a must, especially in such like a service demanding business like real estate.
Exactly.
So you went from being a realtor into being an investor.
Yes.
Right. So in regards to like running your numbers and picking out the right investment, do you go based on just a gut, or do you have a specific like formula that you like to follow when picking out your properties?
Well, all of the properties that I own, I kind of like, I think, strategically bought them at the locations that I was familiar with. I actually lived in Maspeth many years, so I was very familiar with the area. I always thought it was a very, very beautiful neighborhood, you know, friendly neighborhood. You know, it's close to pretty much everything. And that's why I decided to look into this investment, which was a multifamily home to rent out, to give me maybe some positive cash flow. And I kind of like put that in my head. I lived in Maspeth. I want to own in Maspeth, you know? The second property I bought, which was with my mother, we bought a house together because she was still renting. So I kind of like wanted her to stop renting. I worked in Hicksville for this company that actually closed down, that went bankrupt when I went bankrupt also, in Hicksville. So I worked in Hicksville for maybe 10 years. So same thing. I'm very familiar with the area. I used to go to the IKEA a lot over there. I used to go to the shopping center, Broadway Mall, if you're familiar. So my mother also always mentioned Hicksville to me, and she always wanted to live in a nice neighborhood. So I said to myself, you know what? Let's look in Hicksville. Yeah, because believe it or not, taxes there are actually not that bad in some of the properties. You find compared to other areas. You actually, like my mom's house, the one that we bought, her taxes are $7,300. So for Long Island, it's very good, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you're not like having kids going to school, it doesn't really matter. Like,
exactly. And the first property, which is Elmont, which is where I currently reside, I kind of looked to see what was the next upcoming area that I would feel would give me, you know, a lot of equity later on if I would sell it. And because Queens is so expensive, I thought to myself, all right, Cross Island, what's borderline Queens, Long Island, that's not too far in, because I still want to come to Queens, to my favorite restaurants, because this is where I grew up. And I wanted to stay close. So the next most affordable areas would be Elmont and Valley Stream.
Gotcha.
And right after I bought the Elmont property, that's when I found out about the Islanders Stadium. It looks amazing. It's coming out amazing. So it's a huge project. And just because of that project, my home in 2 years already went up in equity 11%.
That's awesome.
So I'm super positive on that house, you know,
awesome.
as an investor.
So in regards to in regards to picking it, you're investing in the properties or in the areas that you are familiar with, that you really like. I actually think that's an amazing way of going about it, because I feel like if you really love an area, you grew up in an area, you should be investing in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right. So just rewinding it back real quick. So you pick out the area based on where you feel would be the next up and coming neighborhood.
Correct.
Right. Do you look into specific rent rolls or anything like that when buying a property, or?
Well, yeah. When you're in real estate like myself and yourself, I feel that we know which areas are the ones in high demand, where people prefer to live. So here in Maspeth, when I was doing a lot of rentals, about 70% or 80% of the people that would call me for a rental, they would say, I would want to live in Maspeth, Middle Village. These are the areas that people like, I guess, for them to live with their families. So that kind of like triggered also that okay, I got to get in Maspeth because it's a very desirable area, and we know what the rents are going for in these areas to kind of like be at that positive numbers game, you know.
Yeah. So when you look at the specific numbers, are you looking like, I want this to cover like majority of the rent plus some, right? So
exactly.
You want to make sure that you're cash flowing.
Exactly. So what you do is you calculate your mortgage. You know, what is my mortgage going to be after you paying your taxes, after you pay your water bill, after you pay your insurance, you know, all the expenses that you have for the property. And if you calculate the rent roll on each apartment, for example, this property in specific, the mortgage is going to be about $4,500. And with the 3 units, if successfully rented at the price that I wanted to rent at, I should have a total of about between $7,000 to $7,500 per month coming in. So that leaves me with about $3,000 to $3,500 in cash flow every month.
That's awesome.
After paying, the mortgage.
Gotcha. And do you have any like specific strategy in regards to like throwing that back in, or you just kind of cash flowing and holding?
Well, yeah, pretty much what I want to do is save and repeat.
Okay.
That's what I want to do. I feel like me at this age, I'm just focused on getting my hands on as much property as possible. And property that I could rent to kind of like establish my retirement. So by the time that I'm 50 years old, my portfolio right now, my real estate portfolio, because that's aside from stocks, which is a different conversation.
That's another talk for another day, guys.
My real estate portfolio right now is worth a little bit over $2 million. So if I continue to do that, and with the equity that the properties will gain throughout time, hopefully I'm trying to be at maybe a 10 million or even more by the age of 40, 45, That's
awesome,
my goal.
That's a really, really good goal. And in regards to like cash flowing and stuff, are you planning on doing like a cash out refi when you can to buy the next one, or?
It's funny you say that, because a lot of people say it's good, a lot of people say it's not, When you refinance your property, you obviously taking some money out of the property, but then you still have to pay that money back.
Yeah.
So I haven't had the necessity to do it yet. If I have enough money saved up to not do that, if you have money saved up to not take cash out of your property, then you don't do it, because that means that when you sell, you're gonna make more money. But if you need to, because you simply don't have enough funds and you have a property where you have enough equity in order to be able to pull out $100,000 and still be able to be at a comfortable mortgage payment, then yes, that's a very good option for you to be able to cash out. I'm actually helping somebody out. They just refinanced their home in Elmont, and he took out $100,000. His mortgage is still pretty comfortable monthly payment, and he's gonna rent the property in Elmont to somebody else, and he's gonna buy something bigger in Long Island, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that's also another good way that most people don't even think about. Like sometimes you can invest, your first property could be your first investment property, right? You living there, building up the equity little by little while you're saving is a great avenue compared to just renting.
Yeah.
Right? And just paying yourself and then saving as much money as you can to buy the next property, whether you're going to refi or whatever it may be. That's also a good option just to get your feet wet into investing.
To get your feet
and you
wet.
know how much you're spending on water.
Exactly.
Right? Like all that stuff. That's one thing I feel like a lot of investors that are new don't know about. Like for me, myself.
Yeah.
Like I've always grew up in a co-op, right? Like, so for me, I don't know that.
You got pampered.
I got pampered. I take hot, long showers, you know?
Listen, and you know, it's funny you say that, because
you cut off all, like your wife's shower, like, hey, stop.
No, imagine. No, but I did learn, you know, from cutting the grass, you know, when in the Elmont property, when the pandemic happened, the guy that would come and cut the grass, he actually stopped coming, you know, because of the pandemic. And then I'm like, shit, I gotta go and rent a machine and actually do it. When I went to do the job, I was like, Jesus Christ, it's not an easy job to do it right, you know? And these people come every week to cut your grass. At the end of when I finally got in touch with him after the pandemic, I actually gave him a raise.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he was giving me a very good price. He was charging me $20 per week, which I thought was very good. But until I realized how hard his job was, I called him and I said, listen, I miss you, man. I need you to come and cut my grass every week, because that's a tough job. And I actually started giving him $30 a week, you know, because I kind of like saw how hard it really was, you know.
Sure.
But those are one of the things that you learn as a homeowner, you know. You have to kind of like either hire somebody to like do these things to maintenance your property. But in a co-op, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. So I'm in for a big lesson learned one, because like what our me and Sonia's specific plan is to actually go out into Suffolk County. Okay. We have a connection with like programs out there. So what we're gonna do is like buy, rehab, and then put like a program in. So we're like guaranteed that specific money,
and then
then rinse and repeat as many times
as
possible. As long as we're cash flowing a good amount per house, we're just gonna keep the process until we could grow our portfolio out.
Exactly. That's my goal, is to buy a house every 2 years. And in 2 years ago, listen to this. 2 years ago, my goal was to buy a house every 2 years. 2 years later, I own 3 properties already.
Yeah, so I mean, you gotta push it up sometimes.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, like, you should make it 6 now.
Exceeded my expectations, but that's the idea. You know, the idea is to kind of like plan, focus, and execute. You know, that's the bottom line.
I mean, that is truly the bottom line. When it comes to like work-life balance, do you feel like real estate is more of a lifestyle compared to actually just a job, right? Do you feel like everything is encumbered, like everything is the same? Or do you have like
the way that I treat my profession as a real estate agent, like you said, it's like a lifestyle, but I look at myself more as a tool to help people. And I believe that I am very successful at what I do because I don't really think about the numbers too much, about how much money I'm making, but more how many people am I helping, and how many more people I can help. Mm-hmm. And I feel that that's why I'm very successful at what I do, because kind of like, it's like a lifestyle, but at the same time, it's like I'm passionate about it. So I'm passionate about helping others, and I feel like real estate and myself was like a good match, you know, because I'm kind of like just helping people, helping them accomplish their dreams, you know.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, you were actually in music before real estate, right?
Yes, before real estate. Yeah.
So you want to give a little story about how you were in that field?
Yes.
And eventually moved over.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in my early 20s, I was actually in a music group called Dos Con Flow. I was the rapper, and my friend Christian, aka Santo, was the singer.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually very, very good, and we were doing very well. We actually,
You went on tours and everything.
yeah,
right?
we toured Colombia. We were on the radio, on TV. We were lucky enough to even get into the studio to make a song with Nicky Jam,
Mm-hmm.
which we actually dropped the song on social media recently. But that was fun. It was fun. But at the end of the day, my personal life wasn't as organized as I would have liked it to be. It was a
Yeah.
crazy lifestyle.
I can imagine.
You're in a hotel and moving from here to there, and shows here, interviews here. It was very hectic. And it was fun while it lasted. But one of my dreams was always to have a family as well, and to kind of like have stability. Maybe because growing up, I didn't have a lot of stability.
Mm-hmm.
Moving into this country, being an immigrant here, and kind of like starting over, with my family, my brother, my mother, my father. So I kind of like always wanted that stability, and with music, I really didn't find that.
Yeah, like that singular place, that home.
Yes,
Disability.
that
Yeah,
home.
okay.
It's like it was fun, and I loved the experience, and I thank God every day for everything that happened in my life when I was doing music, because it was a lot of fun, man. I have stories like crazy. Crazy stories. It was a lot of fun, but again, it just, the stability wasn't there, and I feel like now that I'm 34 years old, that's one of the things that I thank God for the most, is the stability that I have now with my future wife, my baby, and my profession, and now as a real estate investor. I've never been as stable like as I am today.
That's awesome, man. So like you went from being bankrupt to now having 3 properties,
Yeah.
right? That are cash flowing.
In a matter
Right.
of years, 3-4 years, sacrificing 3-4-5 years of your life.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, that's an inspirational story, because there's a lot of people out there that haven't dealt with the necessary back. You could say like being bankrupt is like taking a couple of steps back.
Yeah.
Right? Because obviously your credit's messed up, but you got creative, and I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
you got creative and try to figure out a way to get around that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's definitely like, you can say, the immigrant mindset, right? Like a lot of people don't like value that as much as I feel like most people should, right?
Right.
You come here, you want to make a better life for you and your
Exactly.
family. Like you're gonna make it by any means possible.
Exactly.
Right.
You got to find a way to do it. And I feel like that's what I've done in my life. Just
Yeah, man.
figured it out, And now that I have a daughter, now I think even more about her and her future, and I don't want her to go through the same thing that I went through. I want her to be okay, and teach her everything that I know, and teach her everything that I didn't know,
Gotcha.
growing
gotcha.
up.
That's awesome, man. So I feel like you really shed some light on like the investment side and the real estate side. So what's next for David Dick Closer? What other deals are you working on?
Honestly, what's next? That's a very good question. Something I haven't even thought about, but
Like, is there any specific projects that you have in line that you?
yes, I actually want to start a business with my future wife, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Awesome.
I feel like that's going to be my next big thing.
Yeah, so you're getting into the entrepreneur game too.
Yes, we are entrepreneurs
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
you're gonna have multiple
Yes.
streams of income.
Yes, the idea is to have my own business, and I feel like having multiple sources of income is going to even help me continue my goal as an investor, to continue buying properties, and that would be like my next big move, which you guys will probably get to see.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to see what happens.
Yes, I don't want to tell anybody about
we
it.
can't talk about it, but he told me a little bit about it, and it sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah, it's gonna be an awesome idea. We're looking very, 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 very forward to it.
Cool. And I'm very excited to actually come back and actually look at this house when
Yes.
it's finished. Before, and maybe we can help you rent it out.
Yes, of course, man.
We're
100%, man. Listen, sharing is caring, man. And like I told you, if you have anybody for these rentals, I can't wait to see the finished product also. If you guys follow me on Instagram, I did post some of the pictures when I got this property a couple of months back, and you could see what this looked like before. It was a 2-bedroom. The walls were like this thick.
Mm-hmm.
Four layers like plaster, sheetrock, wood. So
man.
we kind of like knocked everything down, and to make more space. And now I'm gonna turn it into a beautiful units for people to be able to enjoy in this beautiful neighborhood.
When me and Sonia came originally, there was just like piles of wood, like maybe up to my like knees, up to like everywhere. It was crazy.
A lot of garbage. We took out 6 trucks full of garbage, and they were each truck was about 30 yards
Damn,
long.
that's wild. So and then you also found pictures here, and there was something that was shocking when you walk in. You see a
Yes.
swastika
Yes.
on the wall.
Yeah,
Maybe
man.
we'll pull it up and show it, but
Yeah,
like,
we'll show you.
yeah.
When I walked in, when they were doing the demo, you know, they were taking everything off, and there was actually a Nazi sign drawn on the walls behind, I guess, the stairs. It had like this little plastic cover.
Mhm.
Behind it, there was the Nazi sign there. So maybe the people who did the construction originally were probably like, you know.
Yeah, a little bit racist.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know.
I don't know, a little bit racist.
But listen, honestly, when I saw that, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, again, I'm an immigrant. I'm a minority.
Yeah, and we bought it.
And I'm
your
here.
victim is my victim. I'm like, we bought it. Like,
Yeah, we bought it. You know what I mean? Listen, we're making a difference here. And even the neighbors, you know, when I first bought the house, I'm the type of person that I like to have a good relationship with everybody. I went to my neighbors. I said hi to them. I introduced myself. I told them. And this is a very good piece of advice for all my investors out there.
And realtors.
Realtors, yes. You know, having a very good relationship with your neighbors could mean either hell for you or heaven for you, you know? So the first thing that I did before I did anything to this house is go present myself and tell all the neighbors, listen, if there's anything you need or if there's anything going on that you don't like, make sure you call me, you talk to me, and I'll take care of it right away.
Yeah.
And that has actually helped me a lot.
Yeah. I want to dive a little more about, I know this is 100% real and it's a little off topic, but I want to dive a little more into like racism in real estate.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like something that's not really mentioned much in other podcasts or anything in general, but we are going through a shift in the world right now where, you know, people are, you know, getting into the streets and demanding.
Yeah, the revolution.
Man, it's like where civil rights is back at it again. And I feel like, you know, let's talk a little bit about it in the real estate world, because I know I've had to deal with it personally as a realtor.
Yeah.
I've dealt with people that are like, hey, you know, well, I wanted to deal with them, but I couldn't deal with them because they were like, oh, I don't want black people renting here, or I don't want Spanish people here, and then, hello, right?
Yeah, like
it happens, right? But have you dealt with that a lot yourself, or?
Yes, and you know that you see that a lot when you do some rentals. You know, you see a lot of landlords saying.
I feel like that's what was one thing that deterred me a lot from rentals, especially in Maspeth.
That's why I stopped doing rentals too. Actually,
I remember like one of the houses I had, like everything was all good. We found like a lovely couple for it, and then they were like, oh. No. Yeah. I'm like, why? Yeah. And it's like, because they're black. And then I was like, I can't work with you anymore. Yeah. And that was it. And I was just like, I'm so fed up with like people telling me something like because of someone's background.
It's just not fair. It's just not fair because, you know, I believe that good ethic and professionalism comes in any color, you know? Yeah. And there's so many nice families out there who unfortunately have these obstacles in life. And it's sad to say because of race, you know? I believe that racism should be illegal in a way, you know.
I mean, it technically is illegal.
Yeah, but like, it's still very out there, you know, and we see it every single day, you know. And when I did a lot of rentals is when I used to see even a lot more of it in real estate, where, you know, people said, even with, you know, I don't want people with kids, I don't want people
that's a
with
big one.
Color, I don't want, you know, and it's hard for us because it's like we want to help the landlord, and we also want to be fair to all the rentals out there, you know.
And I know a lot of agents, like, unfortunately, like they do take that situation and they'll present it and they'll be like, there's nothing I can do about it, but there's so much you can do about it by just even having that conversation with that person. Like, I don't know where you grew up or when you grew up, but that's not okay anymore. But you know, I'm glad that things are kind of changing for the better in regards to that, and I hope that, you know, real estate can change.
It certainly can, and maybe it can start by us
being more aware of it
and buying property and becoming landlords ourselves. You know,
I mean, that was a big thing for my mom. Like, she grew up in Queensbridge. Okay. Right. So the projects out there. Yeah. And like owning property was like they never even foresaw it. Right. And then my mom bought a co-op, and now everyone in my family like owns. Right.
There you go.
And that's like the dream. Right, you gotta own where you live. Like,
did you ever play Monopoly growing up?
I love Monopoly. I am the Monopoly, like,
The Monopoly king.
I am
right
the
here.
guy, I'm the Monopoly man. On the
Oh
board.
man, he's the one with all the hotels, all the. That's funny.
Yeah, so I go hard in Monopoly. I think that's the reason why I became a realtor.
There you go.
In negotiation, I learned from Monopoly by just constantly playing. Like me, my cousin Noman, and my mom, we would play like 3 rounds in a day.
That's crazy.
And mind you, like we would speed through it, and we knew what like
Yeah, what to do.
Yeah, and I learned a lot through Monopoly.
There you
What
go.
about you?
Well, same here. You know, I mean, I feel like life is like Monopoly. You know, and when it comes to getting a piece of the pie, it's like you gotta get your hands on property. And I feel that in regards to racism, that's how I can make a change.
Yeah.
Because I saw it a lot when I started doing real estate, and now that I'm a landlord, I kind of like want to change that, you know, by giving families opportunities to not feel like they have, again, excuse my French, an asshole landlord, because there's a lot of asshole landlords out there, you know. I want to be that landlord that, you know, tenants could really say like, oh man, this guy is the best landlord I ever had in my life, you know. And I kind of like want people to say that about me.
For sure.
With all my properties.
That's awesome.
And I think my tenants from my other properties could probably already tell you that I try to be as easygoing as possible and try to get things done when they need to be done to keep everybody happy, because at the end of the day, they are paying a rent, and if you
They're
show
your
them
customers.
Yeah, if you show them the respect that they deserve, and they show you the respect that you deserve, just have a good relationship, you know.
Yeah,
that's the best thing that you could do.
So if you had one piece of advice for somebody who's looking to get into investing, what would you say? Like, what would be that one piece of advice to get started if they had their back into the wall or whatever? Maybe they may not see it in the future.
I got a perfect piece of advice. Don't be afraid to partner up with somebody, because the first property that I bought with a friend that I went to school with. And I feel that sometimes people are jealous of each other instead of working in teams. And I feel like in other cultures, you kind of see that. I've dealt with Indian clients, Chinese clients, and I noticed that they work in teams.
Yeah.
You know, they help each other, you know, they're not greedy of each other. They're kind of like, they even lend each other their own money type of thing. Like, it was that crazy. Is that crazy?
They have their little,
it's
their
that deep.
That
So the best piece of advice, you know, that I can give everybody out there is, if you can't do it on your own, don't be afraid to partner up with somebody, and maybe somebody that has your same mentality, that's as responsible as you, that you can trust. At the end of the day, it's a business. You know, you can be protected by contract, but don't, you know, think outside of the box is what I'm trying to say.
Like,
think outside of the box, you know, just if you have the goal of investing, figure it out, make it happen, even if you don't have to do it by yourself, but at least you own something, and it's just going to give you the experience to continue doing it, and one day maybe just do it on your own.
Yeah, man. And I actually, me and Sonia, like, had a great conversation about that while we were driving once to one of those properties, that like we need to create our own network to create that power, right? Exactly. I feel like because we're Puerto Rican and she's also Puerto Rican, we talk about like how we tend to like keep everything separated. We don't want anybody to know about our business.
Exactly.
Instead of actually just saying, hey, how can we pool all our resources?
Exactly.
Because once we're together, our net worth just pumps up that much more.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody could get a little piece of the pie. Everyone could get some profit and stuff. So I think that's something that, you know, a lot of minority groups need to
understand. Yes, that's how it works, you know. Don't be afraid, and be smart, be respectful, be honest.
Yeah. JV, man, joint ventures.
Yeah, exactly. And just be loyal, you know, be loyal. That's very important.
Yeah, man, loyalty is a hard thing to come by sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, but to be honest with you, if you find those right people, you can make such a change.
You can not only make a change, but you can reach your goals a lot faster.
100%,
you know?
Man. So I want to thank you so much for coming on this podcast. I really feel like you did drop a lot of gems, and we got to touch on a topic that I feel like I always wanted to talk about, but we never really got opportunity to. But thank you so much.
No, thank you. I every time I saw your videos, I kind of like always said, I want to get interviewed by somebody, and then when you brought up the opportunity, I said, oh man, I'm very happy that you're here and that I'm getting this interview, and especially by you.
Yeah, man, thank you so much. And just so you guys know, this is brought to you by Design for Realtors. It's e-commerce geared to helping realtors hit their pinnacle and reach their success while also looking stylish doing it.
I already made my order too. Can't wait. I can't wait. I'm gonna be waiting by the door.
Awesome. So go check that out. And this is 100% Real with Alex. Thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for next episode.
Thank you guys. Let's go.
Best believe, we the best, yes indeed, best believe, we the best, yes indeed,